Just quickly, if you didn't watch it, just tap back a few stories. Picture a very butch-looking woman with a horrible fringe.
Just goes, when you say you want to be called a woman, this is what you sound like. No, I'm the only important in the world. You need to refer to me only. And I'm looking at it like...
This is what infuriates me, is if the trans community had an argument, I'm the first person to be like, fair, but every time they open their mouth, they make it worse.
Disclaimer, before I start here, let me just be clear that in this video, what I'm talking about is a very strange and seemingly self-segregated type of gay man. Obviously, throughout the years, gay men have been some of the most supportive and steadfast protectors of me, a trans woman. And so, I guess that's what makes this particular gay archetype so confusing and ultimately depressing to me. So anyway, let's talk about trans-hating gays. So it all started when I made this Instagram reel about the state of trans representation in the UK. I feel like I've kind of given up on wanting any kind of like meaningful representation. Like I used to slag off the Danish girl, but like I'll take that these days. Do you know what I mean? I'll have that. If the choice is you have your rights, but you have to put up with Eddie Redmayne in a wig, or you don't have your rights, but we get a few more, like, bit more trans representation on telly, I'll take Redmayne in a wig. It makes me think a little bit of, like, the term chick with a dick. Like, in the 90s and early 2000s, we used to, like, frown on that term. Like, if someone called you a chick with a dick, you'd be like, hey, that's offensive. Don't call me a chick with a dick. Like, I've been called a chick with a dick in a derogatory way by a stranger before, like, and the way I perceived it was like, this is offensive. But right now, these days, like in the last like 3 weeks, I've seen on mainstream media, on the news and everything, like trans women just being referred to as men, like biological men, trans women, or should I say men? And I'm thinking, wow, chick with a dick is looking pretty good right now. It was quite an inclusive term, really. It was quite progressive in its own sort of twisted way. I mean, look, at least it was acknowledging up front that you're a chick, but then it just has like a caveat on it, an asterisk, chick with a dick. It's pretty silly, right? Sardonic, steeped in irony, everything you've come to expect from me. It's classic Jen Ives, to be honest. Anyway, the video sits there for a couple of days, not really doing too much. I mean, I don't have a massive amount of followers, really. I'm not really good at Instagram, you know, because it's stupid. So a lot of these videos, they're just sort of my way of coping with what's going on in the United Kingdom at the moment. I'm having a yap, basically. Suddenly, though, a comment appears from a blue tick account. Wow, someone famous. Who could it be? Is it Lady Gaga? Is it Barack Obama? No, it's...
We're gay, but we're not queer.
We're pro-choice, but there are limits.
We support LGBT, some of the time.
I don't know how much you know about the British countryside, but it can be an extremely dangerous place. You've got wild boars, rogue cows, poisonous mushrooms, and of course you've got weird posh boy dog breeder transphobic bully gays. Meet the nice boys in the country, the married farmfluencer couple who once tried to do a podcast but gave up on it, either due to a lack of charisma or because they bought a £15 lapel mic off Amazon and couldn't quite figure out how to make it work.
Hi, I'm Zandy.
And I'm with Nick.
And this is our first episode of our new podcast. It's been much anticipated. It's a joke. Mick had a brilliant idea that we're going to try these new sour sweets covered in dog hair.
I've known about these two for a little while now. They're part of this LGB without the T subgenre of entitled gay not queer queers, who hate it when you call them queer, even though, well, come on, I mean, let's be honest. I was unfortunate enough to scroll past a few of their videos last year, but I decided not to engage with them at the time because, well, if I'm honest, there's a lot of gender-critical gays right now. It's not really that much of a novelty. They're all vying for a place in the bosom of the straights, and I didn't really want to give these two any undeserved attention. But they loved my Instagram stories so much that they couldn't resist sharing them to their over 40,000 followers. Pick with a dick? Like in the...
This time, I was clever enough to screen record. I did put a little comment on, just saying I hope that one day the trans community sees that this point that you're making is so true, and that you just kept pushing and pushing and pushing until everyone was like, no, I'm done. But then obviously, very rude. Called me a TERF, posh, country gay, just being rude, but I wonder if anyone would think I was a woman if I spoke like this. I mean, come on.
Just say you are.
More butch than me.
So now that they've reached out and cast the first stone, I thought this would be a great opportunity to look a little bit more deeply into the current epidemic of trans-hating gay men. Nice boys in the country are Alex and Mick, two rough and tumble dog-loving divas with a flair for the dramatic. Alex does most of the talking, while Mick prefers to vape and occasionally interject with something largely stupid and forgettable.
What gets me every time is just the level of aggression in these people's stories, these posts. You can see it's the aggressive eyes, the challenge me eyes.
But they're a victim, darling. You can't
They're
say
a victim
that.
of their own consequences.
All good partnerships need this sort of yin and yang in order to work so well. As well as money, obviously. Both these guys clearly have lots and lots of money.
Genuine question, we get so much hate, so many comments being like, rich gays, posh gays, gays with money as an insult. When did that become a bad thing? Like, at what point in history did having money become an insult? I'd rather be a rich gay than a poor gay. At least I can be like gay with class. That's what it's like when you're a contributing member of society, which I don't think these people will ever understand, because they just spend all that money that we pay, which is frustrating, because then they're rude to us and they insult us, when in actual fact they should be commenting, being like, thanks for working super hard so that I can get my gender reassignment surgery for free. I know people won't like this, but I personally think that we should swap Pride Month for High Rate Taxpayer Month. So like every high rate taxpayer gets, I don't know, like a free coffee when they go to like a high street coffee shop. Yeah, High Rate Taxpayer Month, where the society says thank you to the people that give back so much. Because just to remind people, without high rate taxpayers, society would come to a grinding halt in probably about a day.
Life seems idyllic for the nice boys, looking after chickens, swinging in hammocks, and publicly slagging off transgender people who they blame for seemingly all of their problems for some reason. And it was after watching a good few of their stories and public videos that I started to think, hold on, these boys don't actually seem that nice.
I genuinely believe the woke lefties are the same type of person that rounded people up and turned on the taps in the gas chambers.
They seem sort of, I don't know, what's the word? Nasty. They're nasty gays. Mean gays even. And look, we all know a few mean gays. I'm not against them theoretically. You can have a fun time with a mean gay. Being catty while watching Drag Race or bitching in the smoking area. And like, it's fine if you're nasty, I don't mind. Some people think I'm nasty. I guess the difference is I don't really care if they think I'm nasty, like I'm at peace with it. You don't see me changing my username to Nice Jen so I can trick people into thinking I'm nice. Let the people decide how nice you are. Stop forcing your nice ideology down our throats. God, embrace facts for once, why don't you? But look, I don't want this video to be an unfair hit piece on these specific trans-hating gay boys. As I said, there's more and more of them every day. We've got lots of choice. And in order to understand what the psychology of it all is, I think we need to take a look at a few other examples. For a little bit anyway. Don't worry, we'll get back to the nice boys, they're too good not to. Throughout recorded history, there have always been individuals who seek to drag down others in their community, whether it be for self-preservation or pure psychopathy, and the LGBT community is unfortunately no different. Over the past few years, I've noticed a proliferation of these sort of gender-critical gays, which if you don't know, gender-critical means what it says, they're critical of the concept of gender. I've noticed a load of these predominantly spewing their vitriol on social media, but a few of them have become so comfortable among their oppressors that they've even taken to doing it on television. That is, if you consider GB News television. I know a lot of people don't. Whenever I post a video online about trans issues, I usually notice a surprisingly high reply rate, be it in the comments or in video responses from gay men who, above anything else, want me to know that 1, I dress really badly and don't pass well. And 3, how it's the trans community's fault that women's and LGBT rights are currently at risk. According to them, the woo-woo woke clown world overreach of the pronoun brigade has soured society at large on true same-sex attracted people. They inform me that they are the majority in this view, and that the only reason it doesn't seem like it is because many gays are just apparently too scared to speak out. Which is funny, because when did you ever meet a white gay man who was scared to mouth off about anything? According to the transphobic gay, trans people like me have it coming, and we have for a long time now. One of the first I came across was this guy, Mr. Menno, with his back catalogue of weirdly specific transphobic parody songs. Like some sort of gay, even weirder Al Yankovic, but without any of the creativity and humour.
Welcome to the Ghoulish Gender Show. Say goodbye to everything you know.
Bye-bye.
As insanity consumes reality, and every day is Halloween, there's nowhere left to go.
Sorry.
Griffin hated having breasts and woo.
To be honest, these songs that he does, they aren't really worth talking about too much, obviously besides the cringe value. They're usually a bit too inside baseball to really be effective. Like, no one wants to listen to a song about the concept of autogynephilia. Most normal people don't even know what that is. I barely do. Like, most people go outside. Besides, it seems like he only really makes these songs as an excuse to dress up in drag, apparently mocking trans women's appearances. Except, how many times do you have to do that, really? If you like wearing a dress, wigs and makeup, you don't have to contrive some transphobic ideology as a reason. You can just do it, girl. There's still time. It's never too late. You're not too old. I actually met Mr. Menno once, very briefly. When I attended the first ever LGBT Alliance conference, I should just clarify as a joke, he was there peddling badly printed transphobic t-shirts on a stall, one of which I bought as a souvenir. Again, a preference as a joke. He's a pretty odd guy, seemingly obsessed with trans people to the point of psychosis. It makes you wonder if Mr. Menno actually has any friends who aren't members of the LGBT Alliance. A slogan that's popular among them is LGB without the T, which has become a sort of mantra for the transphobic gay, not wanting to be associated with pervert cross-dressing autogynephiles, or as they used to call us, trannies, which I have to say I did prefer as it was at least catchier and more succinct. Apparently, according to them, trans is intrinsically different to gay, because, to their logic anyway, homosexuality is just when two willies touch, or two vaginas, obviously. Nothing in between though. The transphobic gay is free from the headache-inducing complexities of romance, nuance, or fluidity. He likes his men hunky, his girls fag-haggy, and his brunch sloppy, and the only thing he likes more than that is cock. I know that sounds crude, but the way in which these gays speak about love and romance leaves no room whatsoever for ambiguity. To them, it's all biological, material, dull. The reason why, in their estimation, that trans people are contrary to their plight is that our openness to gender fluidity somehow invalidates the rules of same-sex attraction. They'll claim that trans women are merely straight men in dresses, while at the same time pleading for us to come to our senses and live authentically as effeminate gay men. It's unwinnable and ironically overcomplicating something that most of us feel pretty secure about already. I know that some gays and lesbians view their sexuality as steadfast and definitive. I know a lot of them like to think of themselves as gold star, having never been in any doubt. Not to be that bitch, but isn't this the real fiction being indulged in here? Aren't human beings more complex than that? This doesn't mean that I want to force a gay or lesbian man or woman to date me, despite their insistence that this is happening at terrifying rates. I mean, while we're on the subject, how do you force somebody to date you anyway? Do you hack into their dating profile and match yourself? Or do you lock the doors to Bella Italia until they agree on first base? It doesn't really make a lot of sense. I mean, trans people struggle enough these days trying to figure out who their allies are, let alone their prospective romantic partners. In a way, it's kind of a shame that these transphobic gays aren't more open because, I don't know, I get the distinct feeling that a lot of them are deeply lonely. From what I can see, they don't seem to have much of a gay community to speak of. For various different reasons, they don't seem to get on with the majority of the LGBT community. They seem to end up finding more community among the sort of Brexit-voting white women and closeted ex-comedy writers who frequent the LGBT Alliance conferences. Yes, they have partners sometimes, but their bond is usually a product of a mutual feeling of outsiderism. They're the outsiders' outsiders. Outside even from the marginalised. More special than special. Not like all the others, they're normal gays. Call me cautious, but I don't really trust anyone who insists that they're normal. Honestly, guys, I'm the normal one. Come on, these are always the ones with the most to hide. Lots of these anti-trans gays love to harp on about how different trans people are from gays. But let's just nip this in the bud right now, okay? It's a really dumb thing to say. Trans people have always been aligned with gay causes. We've always been deeply involved in gay activism, and our struggles, although not exactly identical, definitely overlap. This wouldn't be so hard a concept for them to understand if transphobic gays could wrap their heads around intersectionality, but they can't. They're simply too dumb. And I don't mean that to be an attack. I'm stating this factually. Not to be insulting. They are dumb. The ditziness would be sweet if it wasn't so culturally damaging. So many transphobic gays want to tell trans women that they're somehow misogynist or that they're not respecting women's hard-won rights to their own spaces, despite having seemingly no idea about what the actual majority of women think or feel about trans lives. I spend a lot of my life in the company of quote-unquote real women, and for the most part it simply doesn't reflect the reality of what these gays say it does. Regardless of the frequent lies these vicious little queens peddle, most trans people have a great experience of community among gay and lesbian people, and that isn't really likely to change anytime soon. It's funny to me because they claim that our identities as trans people are grotesque parodies based on stereotypes, and at the same time, they continue to push these sort of regressive, worn-out gay stereotypes, which refuse to acknowledge any nuance of sexual attraction. Just to give you one example, there's this gay reality TV dating show at the moment airing in the UK called I Kissed a Boy, and a lot of transphobic gays are getting really riled up about it because one of the men on the show is a trans man.
Well, meet Lars, a 23-year-old female to male trans man, or for sex realists, a woman on testosterone who has removed her breasts.
They're having a fit because as they see it, allowing someone they perceive as a woman to participate is somehow homophobic. Obviously, this guy isn't a woman. He's a trans man who socially lives his life as a man and is just as entitled to participate in finding love, affection, or a good shag as anyone else. But the way these creeps see it, it's forcing real gay men to have it off with a woman. More than anything, I think this just shows how out of touch these sort of gays are, clearly having access to very little to no diverse LGBT community. I'm looking at you, Jack Jewel, you big weirdo. Jack here has been pushing out this grotesque transphobic slop for a while now. Let me just show you a little bit of it, sorry.
Lars' profile says, I Kissed a Boy isn't just a fun reality TV show that we all know and love. It is a celebration of queer love in all its forms. So of course, gay male dating show equals queer love in all its forms, which basically means anything, right?
Here's the thing about Jack though. If you go back, say 7 years to when he first started his YouTube channel, you'll notice a definite content difference.
Quick introduction, my name is Jack, and welcome to my new channel. So I've been watching YouTube for many years, over 10 years, and I've always enjoyed it, always loved watching. And for quite some time now, I've been thinking, you know, I want to give that a go. I want to make content. So I'm going to be brave, I'm going to do it, I'm going to put thought into action, because, you know, what have I got to lose? Except my dignity. How can I be different? How can my channel be special? I thought always a good way to start is asking myself, what am I good at? What can I share with people that will make them want to watch my videos and interact with me? It's chill. Just be chill. And I'm like, I don't understand that word. I'm not that chill. People often say to me, you know, Jack, you really seem to have your shit together. You seem to know what's going on. You seem quite organized. Hell to the no.
As you can see, Jack Jewel started his channel with very different intentions. Okay, so he wasn't the most comfortable diva on camera back then, but at least he was going for something noble. Chronic pain management advice, daily routines. Unfortunately, that content never really hit it off for him, so he took a short break, assessed what he had a better chance of success with, and re-entered the sphere ready to have a go at trans people. Okay, Jack Jewel is boring, let's get back to my nice boys. Here they are in their Instagram stories, still going on about little old me.
Nice boy made my point much better than I could.
In that last reel, she's getting very upset. She's making fun of women who want to be called women, because that's what they are, and yet she's doing the exact same thing. She does an imitation of a child, and then she's on there being like, I want to be referred to as a trans woman.
It's the
Double standard.
It's the double standard, and the one
Hypocrisy.
I'm sorry to go on about it, because I know there are a few people that are fed up of this, but then they rebut it with the argument of, they're only 0.5%, why are people so upset? They're only 0.5%, yet the NHS were calling women, what was it? Oh no, they were calling it child bearers.
Birth partner, birth giver.
Birth givers.
Chest feeders or some...
You can't have both, and it's the fact they're so rude about women being like, why are they so sensitive? How is it women being erased?
Saying you're being loopy.
You're being loopy, yet as soon as someone says you're a biological man, they're like, I'm gonna go kill myself.
That impression she did just hits the nail on the head. It's how she is.
Just quickly, if you didn't watch it, just tap back a few stories. Picture a very butch-looking woman with a horrible fringe.
Doing the... She's going... When you say you want to be called a woman, this is what you sound like. No, I'm the only important in the world. You need to refer to me only. And I'm looking at it like...
This is what infuriates me, is if the trans community had an argument, I'm the first person to be like, fair, but every time they open their mouth, they make it worse.
He wasn't even that anti-trans to start with.
No, I was way more pro-trans now than every... Yeah, every time I hear them open their mouth and make their argument, I'm like, just made it worse.
1,000 times worse.
God, I said before, they need a new PR team. The Muslims and the trans people, new PR, please. I'll help. I'm quite good at PR.
The old ways aren't working.
No. Also, if you want a real good chuckle, there's a reel from her on Common Sense. Enjoy. Woo! My very own Indiana Jones.
You know, it's always interesting to me how transphobes all seemingly adopt the exact same insults. Your voice is deep. You look like a trucker in a wig. Oh, look at your aggressive eyes. So scary. It's almost as if they're all conspiring in the same shitty little private Facebook groups, isn't it? It's almost as if they don't actually have any original philosophical opinions. See, the thing about these two is they claim to be nice, but their actual entire online model is just ripping and reacting to clips from small Instagram accounts. They claim to be against bullying and pro-mental health, but quite how you square that with adopting the exact same approach as libs of TikTok is beyond me. Anyway, unlike them, I wanted to give them the right to reply before I made this video about them, so I slid into their DMs like a saucy little journalist and asked them a few things. And when I say I asked them, obviously I mean I asked Alex. It's always Alex. I don't think Mick is allowed the password to the account. So I wasn't really sure how to present this next bit because it's obviously a huge wall of text back and forths that we had together, but you know, I thought I would do my best to sort of read the highlights for you. If you want to read it, I'll make the whole thing available in a link below, possibly, but just for transparency really. But anyway, here's some of the dialogue that we had. Me. Hi guys, hope you're having a lovely Monday. I've really been enjoying your reactions to my reels. Not so jazzed about the comment on my fringe, but I cut it myself and know my limitations. Anyway, I wanted to let you know that I'm currently working on a video about you, brackets, it's not just about you, close brackets, which is focused on the current phenomena of gay men who are turning their backs on the trans community. I guess my question to you two is, as people who talk a lot on their stories about mental health, why you would feel it necessary to actively seek out, engage with, and publicly belittle trans people online. Personally, I'm not too bothered as I enjoy the attention, but I do wonder what your ultimate end goal is, or if you ever wonder that you're doing more harm than good. Just thought I'd give you guys the right to reply before I finish the video, which I'll be publishing on my YouTube channel Lobotomy World sometime this week. Just for full transparency again, it's about 3 weeks later because this has taken me longer than I thought it would. Have a good rest of your day. Jen, kiss. Alex responded. Alex, absolutely, thrilled to share our side. So, as a gay man, I raised a valid point that the gender nonsense seemed to have no end in sight and was forcing people to bend when they didn't want to and were close to snapping. I was always very pro-transsexuals, far more than I am now. It was said in a very nice and genuine way, genuinely. We received death threats, people tried to destroy our business, which does quite a lot of charity work as well as being our income. It became clear that the trans ideology was a cult with absolutely no room for any difference of opinion, and bizarrely transitioned transsexuals had glued themselves to the very people undermining their cause, so I lost all respect. We've had a fair few transsexuals DM saying they absolutely agree with us, but that they can't comment publicly as they'll be sacked from their jobs. Brackets in the creative industry. For me, the issue arises when truth becomes offensive and it's a dangerous step. I warned over a year ago that it would drive conversations underground where the hate would increase, and it has. As a non-queer gay, I am just a normal person, and I hated that I was being grouped into a subculture that I didn't agree with. Since speaking out, we've had tens of thousands of other gay men agree and thank us for saying what they were too afraid to. In the same way that you're backing your community, we are backing ours. My issue with content like yours is you are incredibly unlikable. You're aggressive and lack any sort of nuance or grace. Your content is purposefully inflammatory, like the impression of women in the NHS being called birth givers. Another side note from me here. They were very upset that I did a silly little voice. If you feel like your identity is being erased because somebody else's identity is just merely being acknowledged, this is what you sound like. No, you should only refer to me. I'm the most important one in the world. Which it's strange that they've personified that as being, you were doing an impression of quote unquote women. I was doing an impression of weird, gender critical weirdos regardless of their gender. I don't see you as a victim, I see you as an aggressor, so I was very aware you could take it. I wish you all the best, but part of making content online is having people's reactions. If you don't want it, make your profile private. Lastly, to address why I seek out content is because it helps me understand the thinking of a cult. It's a totally alien thought pattern to me, and it enables me to create content to highlight the hypocrisy and lack of self-awareness within it. P.S. The Fringe isn't the best look in our opinion, but you're absolutely entitled to have it and enjoy it. I wouldn't have made that comment had your first bite back not been quite so savage. You showed your true colours, so we felt comfortable nipping back. Best of luck with the video, Alex. So as you can see there, Alex has a lot of opinions on what he perceives me to be and what he perceives the transgender cult to be. There's a little bit more after that I'll pop on the screen where basically I ask for a bit of background info on them and they refuse to give it to me. You can read it if you want. Anyway, I managed to find online that Alex and Mick own a dog breeding company where they charge upwards of £3,000 a dog. It says on their website that Alex's background is in importing and selling horses. Mick, on the other hand, has a background in finance, obviously, and as a kid went on many shooting days with his dad. As you can see, Alex and Mick are exceptionally well-grounded, common people, totally in step with the larger gay community. They're definitely not obnoxious Tory weirdos. Which leads me to one of my main theories on these trans-hating homosexuals. When they complain about being ostracised from the LGBT community or having nothing in common with the gays, I actually think it doesn't have that much to do with trans people at all. Trans people are, not for the first or last time, the scapegoat for something much more egregious. See, as we all know, being gay has never been a synonym for being nice. And it's generally acknowledged that men in particular who insist on their own niceness or normality up front are often compensating. Niceness or normality is something that you prove through your actions, not through your username. The sad truth is, a lot of these transphobic gays are just right-wing. Having a look through their accounts, you don't have to dig too far before you stumble across blatant xenophobia.
If Islam is so fantastic, why do Muslims always flee to Christian countries? Why not go to Saudi or another Muslim country?
Well, because Saudi Arabia actively prevents their Muslim neighbors from going there. And the UK government or the US...
But why does Saudi prevent migrants going there?
Look, I'm not an ambassador for the Saudi government.
Isn't it because Christian lands are free and tolerant and open? And isn't that the very thing that Muslims try and change when they arrive in our country? Why not go to Saudi? Why not go to another country where
because when you
the
have
Muslim
a kid,
faith is practiced? Tell me.
When you have a kid on your hands, you try to find any refuge. Literally, you would go across the Mediterranean even if you don't know how to swim. You would do anything possible for you to...
Illegal migration, which is, I agree with everything you said. But I mean, in the UK, obviously that's a big problem, but it pales in comparison to legal migration. So we're really doing this to ourselves by design in terms of, massive demographic change, very short space of time, vastly different cultures, vastly different values, different languages, different religions, and zero strategy. So, I mean, with some of the stuff I mentioned, specifically with Islam, some of the things we're tolerating, like Sharia courts, I don't know what your view yourself is on stuff like the burqa. I mean, for me, I don't think it should be tolerated in the UK.
Whether it's sharing Katie Hopkins clips about Muslims or having long podcast discussions about the ethics of immigration, these gays are usually barely even trying to hide their disgusting intolerances. The gender-critical gay YouTuber Jack Jewell, as mentioned earlier, recently put out a video detailing the reasons he was planning on voting reform, which, to be fair, was a refreshing break from his usual torrent of unfiltered trans misogyny.
I'm not racist, I have my reasons, and get used to it. I thought I could do an election special today where I talk about which party I'm going to vote for and why. I think it's really important for me to talk about this, as a gay guy who will be voting Reform UK. I want to lay out my reasons for it because all of these kind of lefties will label this party as far right, racist, fascist, white nationalist, none of which are true. It's just a campaign to smear the party and to not actually challenge any of the things that they're saying or any of the policies that they're...
There is a very real threat to our society from the far left woke nonsense that is being forced into society, onto governments and into corporations. Everyone kind of makes out like it's all fine, all good, but I asked myself, what will be the next thing in a few years' time that we're waiting for a Supreme Court to tell us? Is the Union Jack racially aggravating, and should it be changed to be more inclusive?
The reason these gay men have been ostracised from their respective gay community isn't because they committed the cardinal sin of bowing to the transgender cult. It's because their prejudices expand way, way beyond it. For all the criticisms they have against trans people like me, who apparently can't face reality, it's amazing how little self-awareness they have when it comes to their own situation. Like, I'm sorry guys, you aren't martyrs. You're not waving a flag for sex-based rights. You're conservative. You love Thatcher. The only philosophy you live by is selfishness and self-preservation. You're building a barn and you're pulling the ladder up behind you. You want so badly to be accepted by straight society that you're willing to use and take credit for the gay rights that were won while doing absolutely nothing at all to help progress them. You call yourself normal gays, but let's be real, you couldn't be less normal. And that is why we reject you. So have fun on your farm, living your quaint little segregated life. But when your Wi-Fi goes down, don't even think about coming back to the city to watch Drag Race. You'll have to put up with Farmer John's cow race or whatever it is you watch up there. I just want to also draw attention to this clip of them having empathy, apparently, for queer bashers.
Because they're like, everyone hates us. Everyone hates us. If you keep shouting at people that they hate you, one day they're going to turn around and punch you in the face.
And then you're going to be like, told you!
I knew it was coming!
Because you pushed for it.
These people are lunatics. I'm aware that this is a potentially unpopular opinion to have being gay, but I don't think people have just woken up one morning and gone, you know what, I want to go queer bashing. I think they have valid reason to be concerned for their reality when it comes to a lot of the trans stuff.
So make of that what you will. And listen, I know I put a disclaimer at the beginning of this video saying hashtag not all gays. And I believe that, I strongly believe that. As I said, I am embedded within the gay community. Like, I'm for the gays. But just to get ahead of the accusation that I apparently hate rich gay people, that's not true either. Obviously, I think wealth should be distributed more evenly through society, but I actually have a lot of love for some rich gays. RuPaul is problematic, but I like RuPaul. He's funny, at least.
We make your eardrums bleed.
I just shoved a nuke up my pussy.
But then there are these two, my all-time favourite rich gays, the Angel Boys, formerly the Birkin Boyfriends. Listen, I love these two. They're undoubtedly rich. They're so wealthy. All they do is swan around all day in beautiful clothes, saying about how everything's fantastico.
Spend a day in our life. After a few champagnes the night before in London, we asked our assistant to book us the next flight to Paris for a spontaneous shopping trip. We cleared our schedule for the next day, which only involved having a foot massage, and arrived in Paris in true style. We sipped champagne for hours and talked about how wonderful life has always been.
There's something about drinking champagne from the most exquisite glass, which I don't mind paying whatever price for. It's fantastic. You are the best waiter in the world. Cheers. Here's to you. That is amazing, James. And what do we say?
No way or no way.
And you know what? I love them. I live for them. Because you know what they aren't? At least seemingly not on the surface. They're not transphobic weirdos. They're just having a lovely time. I wish you could just have a lovely time on your farm. So, big shout out to the Angel Boys / Birkin boyfriends for showing us that if you are going to be a rich gay, you can do it in a way that is enjoyable and inclusive. Anyway, that's the video. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe if you want to, and have a lovely rest of your day. I've got to go and clean out the chicken coop now. Bye.
We're not racist, but we don't believe in white privilege.
Can we just pull up a double standard that we're both getting really, really annoyed with in the comment section?
Why is the only thing that anyone can focus on the fact that we're white? How is that not racism?
If one more person says, I'm too white to understand, or classic coming from a white person, or just like classic white male.
If you were to replace that word with black, the amount of outrage.
Imagine if I comment on a black person's reel saying you're too black to get this. I'm confused. Are the people saying this white?
So this is the other thing. Half of them are, yeah.
I thought the whole thing was we were meant to be moving away from the colour of someone's skin.
And labels.
And labels. Let's all be free. No one needs to be labelled. Call me they, them, zim, him.
That's my label.
People. I'm starting to get annoyed. They're really pissing me off.
I was already annoyed.
Oh, it definitely bothered me that there were people that I had known my entire life, friends I had had since I was 12, who had, been like part of my family, that are suddenly claiming I'm my dad is Jewish, they're calling me a Nazi. I'm gay, they're calling me homophobic. I'm a racist, I'm a sexist, all of these things. And it did hurt, and especially the ones, because it's all based in social pressure with these people, so.
In the US, your Muslim population isn't as big as here in the UK. We have quite a large one. And people are always talking about misogyny and the patriarchy, but then we have a whole community of people and in a subset of that community, the women can't show their face in public, they can't have a job, they aren't allowed to learn English, only their husband can do that. But where is the left on that? Just complete radio silence.
They're helpless little birds with broken wings that
certainly don't act like it.
Walk around with signs saying the only good turf is a dead turf. They're really peaceful, nice people.
Kind-hearted, accepting of everyone that directly aligns with them and their identities and gender beliefs.
Hey Dave, just put a comment on the response you get.
So disproportionate. You can just tell just look at the eyes, everyone. The eyes. They're angry, they're aggressive, and they're confrontational.
I'm going to post the comments on the next story. Enjoy. And we're nice boys.